Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I am your host, Frank Hakem. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning because we have a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about Hurricane Milton here in just a second. I do have some comments from viewers after yesterday's program that we're going to get to as well. Later on in the show, in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with our good friends from San Giovanni, Valdarno, Italy, who have made the trip to visit their sister city here in Corning. There is a pasta dinner fundraiser tonight for the Sister City Committee. It's from 4:30 till 7:30 at the Corning High School cafeteria. It's pasta, meatballs, salad, roll, and dessert. Eat in or take out, just $15. Hope to see everybody there. We're going to hear from the students and some teachers from San Giovanni in the 7 o'clock hour. We look forward to that every year. Okay, first up, comments from viewers yesterday. A couple, in full disclosure, were during the program, but yesterday's program, because of our great guests talking about Proposition 1, which is up for a vote, which is a change to the New York State Constitution. We had Senator Barillo and Bobby Ann Cox, who were our guests. And it was a fantastic interview. It ran late. I had to play some catch up, and I didn't have an opportunity to mention some of these comments. First up, I've walked our dogs several times a week for the last few years in Riverside. The past year, I've seen more and more homeless people. This is what is supposed to be a growing economy. I see them digging for bottles and cans and trash bins all over town. 4 years ago, I never saw homeless people at all. It has gotten very bad. I've heard from a lot of people. I've obviously seen it for myself, even on a cold morning like today. I saw it as I was coming in to work here on Market Street. Yes, it is getting worse and worse. And again, to your point about a growing economy, and never mind what you're seeing, the economy's booming. That was even a part of the interview on 60 Minutes with Kamala Harris, so it was a somewhat tough question, but saying, numbers show that the economy is actually good, but people aren't experiencing it because of their grocery bills and et cetera. So it's, unfortunately, it's something that's, and even at the local level, a lot of people don't have the answers for the growing homeless issue. And it's a very unfortunate situation. But the economy is not helping matters at all. So yes, you are not the first person I've heard say that exact same thing. And I know it's been quite a drain on the county coffers and local coffers trying to house the homeless. But there is clearly not an answer. And we talked with the candidates for both Steuben and Chemung County running for judge, and that was a major issue, homelessness, that came up in our discussion. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Next up, from a different viewer, and again, one that I missed during our interview on Prop 1 yesterday, and this is in reference to Kamala Harris going on Stephen Colbert's show and having a Miller High Life, because I think it's relatively cliche, but what Stephen Colbert was trying to do is to make Harris relatable, trying to make her likable. And today, everybody says they want to have a beer with their president. So this is my opportunity to tell people what it's like. And they shared a Miller High Life. Well, this is from a viewer saying, it's kind of sad that the cool kids think they want a president that they could have a beer with. It seems that the importance of having a strong, thick-skinned president doesn't matter much anymore. It's more about the one that gives off the, quote, good vibes. I admire Trump's admission of being a non-drinker. The president doesn't have to be my buddy or my pastor, just a strong leader. What a great statement there. Powerful statement. The president doesn't have to be my buddy or my pastor, just a strong leader. I couldn't agree more. And the story behind Donald Trump not drinking and losing his brother to drinking and smoking is a really important message, and one that I'd highly recommend. I think he even talked about it on Theo Vaughn's podcast, weirdly enough, where he discussed the story of his brother. So yes, and I like the cool kids idea. Yes, that's just those in the media, the Stephen Colbert's of the worlds, and the good vibe reference there. Okay, next up. from a viewer last night. Hi, Frank. Hey, how are you? We're going to count it. What was the name of the lady who plays the harp guitar? I'm so glad you asked. Yesterday, it was such a pleasure to talk with Muriel Anderson. Really a legend, especially when it comes to the harp guitar. But if you look at the awards that she's won, who she's played with, I showed you photos yesterday of her playing with Chet Atkins. Her and Chet Atkins very close, and that came up in the interview. And of course, I had to ask about the late, great Dwayne Eddy, playing with Dwayne Eddy and played with Les Paul. The list goes on and on. And just such a nice lady, wasn't she? Well, the really neat thing is she is going to be at Marriage Music this Sunday at 2 p.m. And get this, bonus, not only do you get to see her live in concert, the net proceeds go to benefit flood victims in need. So don't miss this event, Muriel Anderson, this Sunday, 2 p.m. Doors open at 1:30, and tickets are just $25. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to promote that again. Thank you to Ben and Dick for making that interview happen. I really do appreciate it. Okay, Hurricane Milton did slam into Florida's west coast with 120 mile per hour winds, leaving 3 million so far without power. Milton made landfall as a Category 3 storm around 8:30 p.m. with winds up to 120 miles per hour, significantly lighter than what the 180 mile per hour Milton blew while raging as a Category 5 storm at various points as it traveled across the Gulf. The photos are just devastating. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the people affected by Hurricane Milton. It got so bad that it ripped the roof off of the Tampa Bay Rays Tropicana field. And what makes it doubly sad in this scenario, not just that they ripped the power of it, ripped the roof off, but that was being used as a shelter for first responders. Hurricane Milton ripped off the roof at Tropicana Field, which was transformed into a camp for thousands of first responders as a Category 3 storm ripped through Florida Wednesday night. The destruction of the Tampa Bay Rays ballpark in St. Petersburg could be seen from the outside as the stadium lights and the roof bars were visible. There's a a North Carolina lawmaker that is accusing Mayorkas of politicizing the tragedy. Now, you may find this interesting because Biden has politicized certain people like Trump and some other Republicans for what they've been saying about Hurricane Helene and also about what they were saying in the run-up to Hurricane Milton. And they're saying, how dare you send this message that we don't have enough money because we spent it on illegal immigrants. But it was Mayorkas that brought that up originally. So you almost have to ignore the fact that people within Biden's cabinet were the ones that started this narrative. Aren't we supposed to, quote unquote, believe the experts, to trust the experts? A Republican congressman from the hard-hit North Carolina is accused Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas of playing politics with Hurricane Helene after the storm ravaged the southeast and killed more than 230 people. Representative Chuck Edwards implored his district's residents to not believe, quote, outrageous rumors about the response to the storm. Federal Emergency Management Agency officials have repeatedly affirmed that the agency has enough money for immediate response and recovery needs for over the next few months. Secretary Mayorkas' statement indicating otherwise was an irresponsible attempt to politicize a tragedy for personal gain. He also defended FEMA from outrageous rumors that disaster funds were being diverted to help illegal immigrants and the aid was being blocked from reaching its destination. We have seen a level of support that is unmatched by most any other disaster nationwide. But amidst all the support, we've also seen an uptick in untrustworthy sources trying to spark chaos by sharing hoaxes, conspiracy theories, and hearsay about hurricane response efforts across our mountains. Again, this was an example. I know someone had mentioned it on yesterday's program, called in. Yes, I thought it was Mayorkas who started this. This line of we don't have enough money for political reasons. And so when, rightfully so, others repeated that line, they are now being criticized and question for pushing conspiracy theories. And we have, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but it somewhat makes sense because it's all about the response to not just Helena, but Milton as well. I see yesterday that Vice President Harris, awkward situation. Have you seen this? It's on Fox News if you missed it. But during a Hurricane Milton update from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, she had to cover her mouth and appeared to tell staff she was on a live broadcast after stumbling through a speech to the people of Florida. President Biden and Harris received a briefing from disaster relief authorities on life-saving preparations for Hurricane Milton. The two also received the latest updates on the forecast and expected impacts for Florida. While Biden attended the meeting from the White House, Harris and others attended virtually. At one point during the briefing, Harris covered her mouth and appeared to relay a message to someone else. "It's a live broadcast," she could be heard saying. The moment came nearly 20 minutes after Harris stumbled through a speech to Floridians. She glanced down multiple times, appearing to reference notes or a script. "To the people of Florida, and in particular the people of Tampa region, we urge you to take the storm seriously," she said. "As has been said before, this is a storm that is expected to be of historic proportions. And many of you, I know, are tough, and you've ridden out these hurricanes before. This one's going to be different. We ask that you, by every measure, understand it's going to be more dangerous, more deadly, and more catastrophic. So please listen to your local officials. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And if you are told to evacuate, please evacuate immediately. Do not wait until it's too late." Just awkwardly, and I guess that's the problem of being on the campaign trail and doing these meetings virtually. Now, on the ground, Donald Trump, former President Trump's family, hosted 275 Florida power and light linemen at his hotel in Miami due to Hurricane Milton. Eric Trump, writing on the social media platform X, saying, "You are amazing, and the Trump family and the entire state of Florida appreciate you. Enjoy the rooms. They're their best in Florida. Be safe." The linemen are slated to respond to the aftermath of the hurricane. So again, inviting 275 linemen at his Miami hotel amid Hurricane Milton. What a nice gesture, and what a great way to prepare those light linemen as they get ready to have, I can only imagine, work hours like you wouldn't believe, and being put in really harmful and dangerous situations. While he was doing that, Trump also slammed Kamala Harris for going on a media blitz while the South is still reeling from Hurricane Helena. After largely avoiding media news, Harris has made her appearances this week on The View, Howard Stern, you know all about it, Stephen Colbert. She's on a fundraising comedy tour while people are stranded and drowning all over some of our greatest states. And I think former President Trump raises a good point there, because I just go back to, and granted, in full disclosure, it was when Trump was president. But you remember the media outrage when he had the audacity, and I don't remember the storm itself, which one it was, but throwing paper towels, rolls of paper towels like footballs to people in need. And it was just outrageous. It showed a lack of empathy. But there hasn't been criticism of Kamala Harris vying for the job of president. Hasn't been the criticism of her going on this media blitz, this media tour. He called Harris's response to Hurricane Helena the worst hurricane response since Katrina. As the floodwaters rose in North Carolina, Georgia and Alabama, Virginia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Kamala flew to a fundraiser in San Francisco, a city she absolutely destroyed. And we're going to move on from this, and we will keep you updated as we try to check the breaking news throughout the morning on Hurricane Milton. But one last thing, because you may have seen, and I know I brought it up quickly on one of the programs, that Kamala Harris tried to almost pick a fight or politicize what was happening with Hurricane Helena and try to pick that fight with Governor DeSantis. Scott Jennings derided Kamala Harris for her comments criticizing Ron DeSantis amid Hurricane Milton's track to his state's west coast. So this was in preparation, I think I said Helena, but in preparation for Milton. Jennings called Harris's move a big campaign mistake, noting that Harris's comments contradicted President Joe Biden's own remarks about the Florida governor. In all of your public communications, no matter what you're doing, you have to always show that American people that you have their fellow citizens in your heart, Jennings said. This is on CNN. I mean, this is a kind of historic storm that some people aren't going to survive it. There's going to be widespread property devastation. You have to just show the empathy that people would expect out of the American president. I think that's a campaign communications number one. Number two, what she can't do is try to insert politics into this. And I think, honestly, when Kamala Harris attacked Ron DeSantis as he was preparing for this hurricane, that was a huge campaign mistake for her. She should not have done that. Biden came out and corrected the record, saying he and DeSantis are working well together. That was the proper response. Yes, she was complaining that DeSantis didn't take her phone call, which is kind of not only a lack of empathy, kind of an arrogance there as well, right? And DeSantis saying, I knew nothing about it. This was not a political move. I didn't know you called. So Scott Jennings from CNN, who's been doing a great job lately, saying that he believes that was a big, big campaign mistake. Now, we've got some other political issues that we're going to get to, again, coming up a little bit later on. We will be talking with San Giovanni, Valdarno, Italy, students and teachers. Looking forward to that, but we are running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. There's our beautiful view of Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street. Let's go to some viewer comments, and then I have an update quickly because we're going to have to. We have a lot of updates actually, but one specifically. All right, a couple comments from viewers. I'd rather have a president that drinks a beer than a bunch of pot smokers all over the place. Cannabis everywhere. Cannabis, cannabis, cannabis. Oh, it's legal now, isn't it? Well, yeah, okay, but you know what? Trump is still a moron. Okay, I'm not fully understanding of your point. I will agree that pot is everywhere. It is pretty prevalent no matter where you go. Thank you for your comment. Next up, different comment from a different viewer. I'm so sick of the Democrats saying, oh, it's misinformation. Are we back in COVID times? I was watching Fox when the VP said everyone will get $750. Spreading these lies, I'm sick of it. Thank you very much. Keep those comments coming in. I appreciate it. Here's a quick update. And another reason why it is so important to vote. Yes, it's none other than Dalton Dictator, the world's super mayor. Tiffany Henyard was ruthlessly jeered out of a meeting in another surreal moment for the Illinois village. She was ruthlessly jeered out, it says here, of a municipal meeting. She barged into minutes Monday night, marking another surreal moment for the beleaguered Illinois village. The self-proclaimed super mayor, and again, if you haven't been watching the show, this is a mayor that got into office, started spending lavishly taxpayers' dollars on trips, posters of herself around town. They recently had, within the last month or two, a big concert promoting the town, costing thousands upon thousands, and the town and the village is going broke. And when the council voted unanimously to audit the books, she vetoed that decision. So she went to the board meeting organized by sparring trustees, and she showed up an hour late. And when she tried to speak, the embattled poll was mocked, booed, and shouted down, according to reports. She said, I am the mayor of the village of Dalton, dramatically before a chorus of jeers rained down on her. Hold on, respect, guys, respect. Let me make my statement or I'm going to leave your illegal meeting. But attendees didn't seem to care as they continued to shout at her after she rose to her feet, clutched the microphone on the table, and deliver an ill-fated speech. Some residents even turning their back to her, according to the Chicago Tribune. She said she was there to make a trio of appointments to fill vacancies, but after 7 futile minutes, she ended up leaving. Another thing I want you to understand about the Board of Trustees is they are all corrupt. Every last one of them here is corrupt, she claimed. Wow. The reason I mention this is because it affects us locally. It's just a prime example of you need to know who you're voting for and what you're voting on. That's why we've said numerous times on this program that a goal is to have as many candidates as we can before November on the program. That's why so far we've spoke to each of them once, and that's going to double. We're going to speak to each of them twice. But Chemung County Family Court judicial candidates, and we've also spoke with the Steuben County Court and Steuben County Family Court judicial candidates as well. And we're going to have other candidates on because it is important to know who you are voting for. And also yesterday, if you watched the program, I hope that you did, we had a great discussion on Prop 1, which is a vote that you'll have to change to amend the New York State Constitution. And our guest yesterday supporting a no vote on that, wanting you to vote no. But we wanted to give you all the information. I thought yesterday was very informative. That's why we ran a little bit long. But that's the goal here, so that you are the most prepared and the most informed, because let's face it, as so many of the candidates said, there are not other outlets for you to have that opportunity. Getting the message out is very difficult, other than, of course, the good old pound the pavement that a candidate should do anyway. And everyone had such nice things to say about it. Everyone seems to enjoy it so much. So they have that opportunity, but they were all very praising that they had the opportunity to come on this program and speak to you directly. But we got to take another break. A couple other quick updates, and then we're going to get into the presidential race. What did you think of Harris's media blitz? What do you think about, if you watched any of it, Trump's rally yesterday? I think it was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Feel free to weigh in at any time. Also, we do have some New York State issues, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. The Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. I think you should contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Look at that beautiful view. I know, I can't get over it. I've always been a big fan of the Roof Cam, and I'm glad to see it back. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Again, coming up a little bit later on in the 7 o'clock hour, San Giovanni Valdarno, Sister City. Students and teachers will be in, and I know many of you look forward to that like I do each year. Quick update. I mentioned yesterday that Trump will be holding a rally at Madison Square Garden. That's going to be really interesting to see. It's right before, I think it's 9 days before Election Day, spending time here in New York State. Well, we've heard about toning down the rhetoric, right? Especially after the fact that Trump had 2 assassination attempts against him. Tone down the rhetoric. Well, a New York State Democratic lawmaker compared Donald Trump's upcoming campaign stop at Madison Square Garden to a Nazi rally that took place at the famous Big Apple venue 85 years ago. State Senator Brad Holman Seigel, 58 years old, called on Madison Square Garden officials to cancel Trump's October 27th rally. It's a very interesting political take. Hey, we want to silence and censor. I mean, that's just what the state senator Brad Holman Seigel is suggesting here, right? That the presidential nominee, who actually went through the process, by the way, went through the primary process, the presidential nominee for the Republican Party should not have a right to speak at Madison Square Garden. Now, when the New York Post reached out for comment, he stood by his comment. Let's take a look at it, shall we? He claimed it could lead to widespread violence as he ripped into the former president and his supporters. And that's something that was really kind of perfected on college campuses when they would try to silence conservatives. What they would do is the Republican group would bring in a conservative speaker, and they would say, uh-oh, there's going to be violence, there's going to be destruction and protests, so we have to charge the Republican group a huge amount of money for security, and then therefore the Republican group that does not have a huge budget would have to cancel the speech. So the threats of violence. This is what he had to say. Again, this is State Senator Brad Holman Seigel. Let's be clear, allowing Trump to hold an event at Madison Square Garden is equivalent to the infamous Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden on February 20th, 1939. And he tweeted this out. He's proud of this. I'm guessing that he is trying to make a national name for himself, maybe thinking this will be the kind of thing supported by the Democrats that would maybe see him rise above state senator. Now, if you don't know the history, there was actually a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden during the reign of Adolf Hitler. 20,000 attended the rally. Tens of thousands of protesters demonstrated outside in 1939. Holman Seigel, whose Senate district includes the Garden, said he confirmed Trump's rally is scheduled for 3 p.m., just 9 days before Election Day. This is a disastrous decision by Madison Square Garden that will endanger the public safety of New Yorkers and has the potential to incite widespread violence. Why? Why would there be violence? I'm confused. Unless you're suggesting if this was some kind of threat by your party that there would be violent counter-protesters, or not counter-protesters, violent protesters. I'm confused where the widespread violence would be coming from. I'll continue. For the good of New York City and its residents, I demand the Garden keep our city safe by canceling the Trump rally. So now he believes just having the presidential nominee, the Republican presidential nominee, the candidate for president of the United States, speak at a rally at Madison Square Garden is a disastrous decision that could endanger public safety. There's definitely some major free speech issues here. There's definitely some, I think, threatening language here, saying that it could lead to or it could incite widespread violence. I would assume that's saying from the opposition party to the party that it does not support Trump. Trump's campaign blasted him in a statement saying, only referred to him as a no-name New York State senator. This is the same type of dangerous rhetoric that led to 2 assassination attempts on President Trump's life and has divided our country. This no-name New York State senator should resign in disgrace over his erroneous comments. Meanwhile, President Trump will pack the house at Madison Square Garden on his nationwide tour to make America great again. I like this idea of a nationwide tour. Obviously receiving backlash from many, specifically New York Representative Elise Stefanik, who called on prominent Democrats like Hochul to denounce Holman Siegel and his dangerous and unhinged rhetoric. Nicole Malliotakis, representative from Staten Island, said, what a terribly disgusting thing to say. And by the way, it's members of your party who are running around our city with Hamas and Hezbollah flags, terrorizing Jews on college campuses. The state GOP committee also slammed the statement as a disgrace, while also calling Democrats to disavow it. If you have a shred of dignity, you will remove this post and immediately apologize. When asked about the impending Trump rally on Wednesday, Hochul replied, oh, great. I feel very confident, as I always have, in the ability of the NYPD to handle the most extraordinary circumstances, she said. No one can stop anyone from having a rally. This is America. Well, apparently, a state senator by the name of Holman Siegel believes that in America he can pressure Madison Square Garden to stop a rally. Again, he does not have any regrets over his statement. But remember, you need to tone down the rhetoric. And speaking of the rhetoric, one last quick thing before we take another break. This is not rhetoric from a politician, but to show you, to tie it in with what I was saying about college campuses. A professor at the University of Kansas, has been placed on administrative leave after saying that men who don't vote for Vice President Kamala Harris because she's a woman should be shot. We could line all those guys up and shoot them, he said in a recently leaked video. What frustrates me, this is a quote from the University of Kansas professor. What frustrates me is there are going to be some males in our society that will refuse to vote for a potential female president because they don't think females are smart enough to be president. We could line all those guys up and shoot them. They clearly don't understand the way the world works. Did I say that? Scratch that from the recording. I don't want the deans hearing what I just said. Toning down the rhetoric. Let's just keep going. Let's just run late all morning long. You remember the Columbia activist who was suspended from Columbia who said Zionists don't deserve to live? It was 6 months ago. Columbia University banned Kimani James. And I don't know how you can, this is from CNN, I don't know how you can call them a pro-Palestinian student activist when is pro-Palestinian the right word there? Or is it just anti-Israel when you say, quote, Zionists don't deserve to live, end quote. The coalition that apologized on his behalf has now rescinded the apology, regretted making the apology, and actually advocated for armed resistance against Israel. Quote, last spring in the midst of the encampments, Columbia University apartheid divest posted a statement framed as an apology on behalf of Kimani James. We deliberately misrepresented your experiences and our words, and we let you down. We support liberation by any means necessary, including armed resistance, the group said. When you've exhausted all peaceful means of resolution, violence is the only path forward. That is what is being dealt with on college campuses. And again, administrators, I know I'm jumping around a lot here, but administrators focusing on coddling those anti-Israel, anti-police, anti-American protesters, and not caring one iota about the Jewish students on campus that have clearly real concerns about their safety and security. Okay, that was a lot of updates to get to. Running late. I know I keep saying it, but it's the truth, so stay with us. The Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you again for joining us. One last quick update. Two quick updates. We're going to be spending the whole show updating you. Hezbollah begging for mercy proves Israel is right to fight and to continue to shrug off Biden and Harris's terrible advice. Coming from the New York Post editorial board and a story that we brought to you yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago, with Israel really being asked now by Hezbollah for talks of a ceasefire because Hezbollah has been nearly destroyed. Turns out, the Post says, bravely attacking your enemies with uncanny precision and skill rather than begging them for peace is effective as a military strategy. But there's a double lesson here. One is that the strategy demanded by the Biden administration, under which Israel would somehow win peace by giving up on eliminating Hamas in Gaza and not answering Hezbollah's year-long missile fire, is utterly absurd. Second is that Iran can be cowed and constrained, not through giving in to the regime's demands, but by standing firm against them. Don't hold your breath waiting for Joe and Kamala in their Iran-worshipping inner circle to understand, though. I thought that was a very good piece. Okay. Oh, did you see Mike? This is kind of an update as well. House Speaker Mike Johnson referencing a story we brought to you yesterday, which was the ISIS-inspired Election Day terror plot that was thwarted. Very scary. He slammed the Harris-Biden administration on Wednesday for bungling the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and subsequently letting in tens of thousands of migrants, one of whom allegedly planned to carry out an ISIS-inspired Election Day terror attack. This is what the Speaker Mike Johnson, had to say. Following the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, more than 77,000 Afghans were given humanitarian parole with little to no vetting and no intent to know their whereabouts. Nasir Ahmed Tawadi, the terrorist plotting an Election Day attack, was one of them. Good for Speaker Mike Johnson for calling this out. Whether it's their open border policies or failed foreign policy, this administration continues to risk American lives by allowing terrorists, murderers, rapists, and other violent criminals into our homeland. Yet another update. Hey, did you see, speaking of news, and feel free to weigh in on any, I know I'm covering a lot of topics this morning. Hillary Clinton's second book about losing the 2016 election. Not doing as well as the first book on losing the 2016 election. I know we mentioned this a few days ago, or I know it's probably longer than that. We were surprised that there was yet another book coming out by Hillary Clinton. The numbers that I've seen, where is it? By the way, full disclosure, the book is called Something Lost, Something Gained. In its first week, it has sold just 27,000 copies. That's less than 20% of her record-breaking haul during the Trump administration. But 27,000 copies, not really what you consider a hit. All right. Yesterday, one of the big stories. How am I doing on time? Now we're doing good. We covered all the ones that were kind of one-offs, but I wanted to mention. Again, we'll try to keep you updated on Hurricane Milton as news breaks. Okay. Where do I want to go from here? Oh, the Fox News had requested, again, a debate between Trump and Harris. This was breaking news yesterday that they sent out a letter asking both campaigns if they would do one last debate with Fox News right before the election. President Trump has shut the door on that yet again, saying, I won the last 2 debates. J.D. Vance easy won his debate with Walz, who called himself a knucklehead. I'm also leading in the polls, with the lead getting bigger by the day and leading in all swing states. The first thing a prize fighter does when he loses a fight is says that he demands a rematch. It's very late in the process. Voting has already begun. There will be no rematch, he announced. Now, earlier yesterday, Fox News invited both campaigns to consider October 24th and October 27th as potential dates for one last debate. With a month to go until the last votes are cast, Fox News Media would like to take one final pitch for a debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, the company's President Jay Wallace wrote in a letter. They proposed Brett Baer and Martha McCollum moderate the forum, and the rules would have been similar to the CNN and ABC debates. I don't even think at this point Democrats respond that there's absolutely no way that Harris would ever accept a Fox News debate, even though she wants another debate. There's many reasons, but she couldn't do anything to show any type of support, if you will, for Fox. But also, she, as we saw even in the 60 Minutes, which they wanted it to be good. They wanted her to do good. But they, even with 60 Minutes asking some pushback questions, she couldn't handle it. And now there's the question and the concern over the same question asked and 2 different answers given, one in the promo before the interview and one during the interview. Now, Trump campaign is demanding the transcript from the interview. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay with us. Keep those waves coming in. Keep those comments coming in. Having a good time this morning. And we're going to be talking to his son, Giovanni Valdarno, and the Sister City kids here in just a little bit. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back. The Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. You're watching Frankly Speaking. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So there's an ex-CBS News reporter that says that there's precedent for releasing the full interview transcript when it came to Donald Trump. Now, to take a step back, so 60 Minutes, as I said, there's a question asked about Israel, and during the promotion for the run-up to the interview, they showed Kamala Harris's answer, and it received a lot of criticism online. It was what people call one of her word salads. It was being spread all over, and it was a negative. It was harmful to Harris. So when the actual broadcast played, they had edited it, and it became a somewhat clear and whether or not you agree with what she said, clear and concise answer. And I didn't realize that the interview went so poorly that the moderator, Whitaker, actually talked over her in a recorded message, because it must have been another word salad. I saw the clip yesterday with a reporter talking about it, where, they'll do, what's the term I'm looking for? She's about to give her answer, and she's talking, and they kind of fade her out or keep her low and have him saying, at this point, Kamala Harris described her, and that's not a good sign. I mean, obviously, we know CBS is in the tank. We saw it with the debate. We know they're in the tank for Kamala Harris. We get that. But even though there were some good questions, I'm not taking away some of the good questions, the lack of journalistic integrity when you're talking about basically giving her answer for her in a way that's you're trying to make look professional. It's shocking. I did not see that clip originally, and when I saw it yesterday, I was blown away that they would do that. Basically, speaking over her to give her answer for her in a more coherent way. But that should not come as a surprise, because if you remember, and granted this was ABC, but mainstream media is mainstream media. What ABC News did with their debate between Harris and Trump, they had admitted, and her name escapes me, the one moderator had said that they practiced ahead of time with someone pretending to be Trump and listen to all the answers he would give for questions so that they could be ready to fact check him, not doing the same thing for Harris. And the reason that is because they felt during the Biden debate that there was times when they were watching and thought, well, Biden should have said this, like we all do during a debate. But remember, they're in the media, so they have a different ego that everybody should listen to them, the narcissism there. So saying, oh, Biden should have said this, or didn't have a great line of attack on Trump when he should have went this way. So they're watching that, and they basically vowed that's not going to happen again. We're not going to let Harris make the same mistake. So if Harris doesn't have a good enough line of attack, we will go after Trump with the fact check. So to have someone do a voiceover over her answer to save her from what we can only assume was something incoherent when the word salads, that's the only thing we can assume. It's another reason to call for the transcript. CBS News remained mum yesterday amid mounting pressures to release a full transcript of Harris's interview with 60 Minutes, even as a former correspondent said there's precedent for the network doing so when it came to Donald Trump. Catherine Heritage, remember her? She was laid off earlier this year. She was investigating the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. She was the only one investigating that, and she was one of the many, though, that were laid off. She said the network released a full, unedited transcript of her interview with Trump when he was president back in 2020. The Republican presidential candidate has demanded that CBS News publish the full interview with Harris after accusations that they edited her, quote, word salad answer during the sit-down with Bill Whitaker. And you'd also want to know what she was saying during that voiceover. Heritage posted on Twitter saying, as Trump campaign calls on 60 Minutes to release full unedited transcript of Kamala Harris' interview, there is precedent. When I interviewed then President Trump in July of 2020, CBS News posted the interview transcript. This is more complete and not the same as a transcript of the edited TV report. The award-winning journalist provided the link to the unedited interview on CBS News in which she grilled Trump on hot topic issues like the COVID vaccine. It's about transparency and standing behind the integrity of the final edit, Heritage said. A source close to the network said Heritage had pushed for the publication of her full transcript at the time and that it was a special case. CBS News has yet to comment on this issue, why they thought and I guess this is the narcissism of the mainstream media, to think that they could get away with that, showing one answer, then getting a bad pushback, showing that it did not reflect well on Harris, so changing it in the final broadcast. Now, yes, interviews can be edited. They're not here on Frankly Speaking, just so you know. They can be edited, but the difference between the two, startling, shocking. So the transcript deserves to be seen, and also with that voiceover over one of her answers. There are a lot of questions waiting to be answered. And why are they hiding behind the transcript? The controversy continued to swirl after a truncated version of the Democratic presidential candidate's response to the question from Whitaker about Israel was broadcast on the 60 Minutes episode on Monday. I don't want to go through and quote exactly the change. The change was jarring. It was completely different. Viewers who tuned into the primetime special saw a much more specific answer, or not a bad answer. You might not agree with it, but sounded like a very ready. I was ready for that answer. Erudite, I think is the word. Answer from Harris. CBS also did not include the unedited version in its YouTube upload of the 60 Minutes segment with Harris. The original answer also could be found in the transcript of the interview that was posted on CBS News' official site. Let's see. The Trump campaign said on Sunday, 60 Minutes teased Kamala's highly anticipated sit-down interview with this epic word salad that received significant criticism on social media. During the full interview on Monday evening, the word salad was deceptively edited to lessen Kamala's idiotic response. That's the official statement from Trump's 2024 National Press Secretary, Carolyn Leavitt. So there you go. All right. That was just an update, really, from yesterday's program as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, wrapping up our number one of Frankly Speaking. Hard to believe. In the next hour, we will be talking with students. I think there's a total of 9 students. In full disclosure, we recorded this yesterday because of their very busy schedule, though the interview was not edited, just so you know. But their very busy schedule, and the fact that we had 9 kids, and you've seen the studio here, fitting 9 kids in a little difficult, so we did 2 different interviews. They're just quick, but I know you're going to love them because tonight is the pasta dinner fundraiser for the Sister City Committee. It's a Corning San Giovanni Valdarno Sister City Committee. It is tonight at 4:30 till 7:30 at the Corning High School cafeteria, just $15. Eat in or take out, and you can meet the students that you'll see here on Frankly Speaking. I'm telling them, after you watch the interview, of course, that they did a wonderful job. So that's coming up in the next hour. Also, because we had that question earlier on, well, it was actually after yesterday's program. Yesterday, we did interview Muriel Anderson. She is going to be at Marriage Music, maybe I should start editing. Marriage Music this Sunday at 2 p.m. Doors open at 1:30, and the net proceeds go to benefit flood victims in need. So don't miss that. What a fun interview that was yesterday. Okay, hour number one, nearly through. Coming up in the next hour, we do have some pushback on, and I don't know where it's coming from. I'm kind of surprised by it. Harris is getting some pushback from the media for various situations. Some being that, why are you not going to more hard-hitting interviews? The one that you do did not go well, and then you go to Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert. Where's the actual getting to know Kamala Harris? Because remember, it's such a unique situation where she never received a vote to become the candidate, but there she is. So it seems like she has more explaining to do. Does sound like Desi Arnaz has more explaining to do. So instead, going to friendly outlets and not doing any press conferences. There's been 0 press conferences, but also not talking to, not even hostile news outlets, not even talking to friendly news outlets. And the fact that this was a major story, just the fact that she was giving interviews shows, well, let's just say some Democrats are concerned and scared that she's not doing enough to get her message out there. We'll talk about that, but we do have to take a break and start our number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us. Our number 2 of Frankly Speaking is we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I am your host, Frank Acom. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I've got to say, we have such amazing viewers. You've shown it time and time again when we've asked for donations, whether it's for the Salvation Army or for Walk to End Alzheimer's. And just the fact that I received so many comments. And we have such a diverse crowd of viewers. And I thank you for that. And I think sometimes people send messages thinking that I'm not going to read them. Sometimes I can't read them. If I'm being honest, we do receive some messages that the FCC would not look kindly upon. And also sometimes they just don't fit into the, I'm kind of giving you an explanation of if you're new to the program, but that just don't fit the conversation, or maybe doesn't send the best message for what we're discussing. So they're not, I can't read all of them for time reasons. Sometimes we could spend the full show. The reason I bring this up is if you are new to for 2 reasons. If you are new to the program, you see the number on the bottom of your screen. You can reach out and comment at any time. You can call that number and leave a voicemail, or you can text message me. Or you can just send a wave like you see down there at the bottom of the screen. So I've got to show you how great this audience is and how diverse it is, because there could not be 2 more wildly different messages from 2 different viewers. But I'm going to read them. First up, I like your program, Frank. Well, thank you. Trump is afraid he will get his, we'll say, butt kicked again in another debate. He is such a liar and admits he lies, just as his VP selection does the same. Except he has stated he would make up a lie if he had to. What the heck? Vance did a better job in his debate. He's a better debater than Trump. That's obvious, as Trump can't put 3 words together that make any sense. Trump has no plan but for his notion of becoming a dictator on the first day. It's sad to choose the lesser of 2 evils for president. 3rd time's a charm. First day, dictator. Well, he didn't say he was going to become dictator on the first day. He said day one. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just like reading comments. I only tend to read a few where I interject comments, my own comments in between, and I will not for that one. So thank you for the message, and thank you for watching the show. The next message from, obviously, you'll see in a second, a different viewer. You know, Frank, this Democrat Party is an alarmingly propaganda machine. I say this in view of the cover-ups of Harris's squabblings, and because they scramble to say anything negative about our next president, Donald Trump. With respect to this, then, I sincerely fear that the Democrat Party should be referred to as the Communist Party. Thank you so much for those messages. Keep them coming in. Is this a different person, or this just happened to come in at the same time? It's bad to use a lesser two evil for president. Third time's a charm. Dictatorship. I'm not sure what that means. And it may be, and it's not from the same person. Interesting. So there are our comments from you, the viewer. Thank you so much. Keep them coming in. All right, let's get back to it. New York Times. This is rare, and this is why I bring it up as a news story. Special counsel Jack Smith abused his power and is interfering in the 2024 election with a massive 165-page memorandum accusing Trump of committing crimes. That's according to an op-ed in the New York Times. Now, we know the story of Smith with that document dump. Harvard Law School professor Jack Goldsmith, a former George W. Bush official who has been critical of Trump, kind of all of that adds up, doesn't it? Harvard Law School professor Jack Goldsmith, a former George W. Bush official who has been critical of Trump, wrote in the Times that Smith had violated legal norms and appeared to be attempting to improperly influence voters. This is what the op-ed had to say. The need for an explanation is heightened because this is not the first time Mr. Smith has appeared to disregard relevant department rules. In December of 2023 and February of 2024, he urged the Supreme Court to hear Mr. Trump's immunity claim on an expedited basis because of the imperative public importance of trying Mr. Trump as soon as possible. Mr. Smith never explained the need for speed. Many concluded, plausibly, that he wanted his trial evidence in the public realm so that the electorate could make a fully informed decision. This motivation would violate the Justice Department's rules that prosecutors, quote, may never select the timing of an action for the purpose of giving an advantage or disadvantage to any candidate or political party. Mr. Smith, at a minimum, created a strong appearance of impropriety without any explanation in a context where public confidence in the integrity of his decisions is vital. Some will blame the Supreme Court for Mr. Smith's predicament. The court decided to follow Mr. Smith's request for expedition, and its immunity decision made a pre-election trial impossible and requires a complex analysis by Judge Chutkan, I think is how you pronounce it, to decide which charges against Mr. Trump can go forward. These considerations are irrelevant to Mr. Smith's duty to comply and appear to comply with the relevant rules, which, as former Attorney General Eric Holder once explained, are designed to maintain the public trust in the department's ability to do its job free of political influence. Surprising that op-ed would make it. I know it got a little legalese there. That op-ed would make it to the New York Times. Now, that caught my attention. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. Coming up again, I don't think I highlighted this, and I did last hour. Coming up, let's see, at 7:20-ish, we'll be hearing from the first group of San Giovanni Valdarno Sister City kids, and then the second group following. Okay. Trump yesterday at the rally and predicting that there was going to be an explosion between Biden and Harris. Trump suggesting that Biden hates Kamala as much as he hates Trump. Now, that's a little bit different than how I've been putting it, but I know many viewers enjoy sending comments and thinking about, some political implication of this or political implication of that. And I thought, they always talked about Biden's legacy. And Biden's legacy is really that he beat Trump. He was, quote unquote, the only Democrat that could beat Trump. And that was a part of his legacy. And he believes he's the only person that could beat Trump again. So when his own party, after 50 plus years of loyalty to his party, kind of stabbed him in the back and pushed him out, he had to feel had to feel anger. He had, and let's face it, this is not coming from any political position, because most presidents are this way. But Biden does have a reputation for an ego, have kind of that hard-headedness, that anger, believing that people are kind of out to get him because he's been very successful, et cetera, et cetera. So very upset. So the speculation at the time was, not by me, but by others, that perhaps he quickly endorsed Harris on his way out because he knew Harris would be a tough sell to the American public. And that's nothing new. Democrats, media alike, have been saying that Harris probably wouldn't make a great presidential candidate. Some even suggesting, if you recall, that Biden drop her from the ticket. This, of course, before he dropped out. Drop her from the ticket for someone more likable that could help him beat Trump. Now I know they've rewritten history. I get it. You wouldn't know that was ever the conversation, and was a conversation for years. So the speculation was that Biden, while dropping out, endorsed Harris quickly. So then, hey, you guys, good luck. I can't beat Trump. Okay, then you sell Harris to the American people. Okay? So the thought process here, and you can disagree with me, as you see, I'm reading all types of comments this morning. The thought process here is, does Biden secretly, now he'll never say this, he'll vote for Harris, but does he secretly kind of want to see a Trump win? Not for political reasons, but for his own ego. Meaning, if Harris loses, Trump wins, he can say to the people that stabbed him in the back, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the Obamas of the world, say, I thought I couldn't beat him. I'm the only one on record, the only Democrat that could beat him. I did, and you wouldn't let me run for a second term. You thought you could do better, and we lost. I think his legacy now is, within the Democrat Party, his legacy now is that he beat Trump. I think his legacy is only magnified in the Democrat Party if Harris loses, because he was the only one that could beat Trump, and they wouldn't let him. I think it only secures kind of a mythical status on Biden about his ability to beat Trump. I don't know, just one of those political mind games that people have been playing. But Trump, again, predicting this explosion. He looks better now than I've ever seen him looking, Trump, referring to Biden, said at that Scranton, Pennsylvania rally. But he's angry. He's angry at her. This meaning Biden is angry at Harris. There's going to be an explosion before the election with them. These two are there's going to be an explosion. Did you see he held a news conference right in the middle of her one big event that she's had in about 2 weeks? He got up and held a news conference. He walked into the room. Nobody ever does that. The Republican nominee added, referring to Biden making his first appearance in the White House briefing room as president while Harris held a rally in Flint, Michigan. Can you believe our country is being run by these people? Trump then asked, rhetorically. Biden has publicly kept up good feelings with Harris, campaigning for her and maintaining his endorsement for her. The president has also said he sees his vice president as a continuation of his legacy and who will build upon his achievements. Anyway, I just thought Trump somewhat echoing that idea, but believes that there's going to be an explosion, meaning that, Biden can't be happy. I mean, it continues to be insult to injury every time. Look, for instance, at the Democratic National Convention, which should have been his reelection beginnings. They bumped his speech out of prime time. So it's just one thing after another, and then she's trying to distance herself from him sometimes, and then other times trying to attach herself to his legacy. They say behind closed doors he's not very happy that he's not being mentioned more, not being given more credit for what he has, quote unquote, done. But we got to take a break. I see there's other comments coming in. Keep them coming in. And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. A couple comments from viewers as I forget to switch my camera and as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Here we go. Read Kevin Sorbo's letter on why he is voting the way he has voted. He is voting and all the positive things he is voting for versus the negative. I will look that up. I had the real pleasure of talking with Kevin Sorbo quite a few years ago. Just such a nice, down-to-earth guy. And I don't know, when it comes to movie villains, the part he played in the movie, if you recall, that was a mega hit at one time, well before COVID, God's Not Dead, playing that. Well, I won't give too much away. But anyway, very nice guy. And I know that he's very succinct in what he says and very smart in what he says. So I will look that up. Thank you for the recommendation. Next up, my take on Biden's legacy, thinking he could beat Trump a second time, given the dismal state of affairs of our country that it is in currently. He is overwhelmed by it. Oh, let me try it again. My take on Biden's legacy, thinking he could beat Trump a second time, given the dismal state of affairs our country is currently overwhelmed with, is delusional. The mindset of the question, and I understand what you're saying. The question itself, though, isn't whether Biden could win or not. I wasn't posing that question, though that's a very good point. I'm just saying the idea that he's the only one that can beat Trump. So if Harris can't beat Trump, he essentially can still say he's the only one that could beat Trump. But yes, I think your point is very well taken. I was just not posing it as a question of whether he could still beat Trump or not. Though there is that kind of interesting, and I think this is why Harris is trying to latch herself a little bit maybe more to Biden than she had in the last couple of weeks, because there is, to Trump's point, a little bit of nostalgia there, or a little bit of because people aren't seeing Biden as much, thinking, well, I don't think it was that bad, or I haven't seen the debate. I saw it months ago. Was it that bad? Because let's face it, Harris isn't getting out there enough. James Carville is really mad at her, but she's not getting out enough to really spread her message. And when she does, you have even flubs that the mainstream media have to mention, like on 60 Minutes. I did not see Howard Stern. I saw bits and pieces of Stephen Colbert, but even then there's some criticism of how she responds and not giving substance, not giving answers. Because when CBS has to push back on 60 Minutes of saying, yeah, but how are you going to pay for it? This is the real world, those type of things. That's not a good sign for her. So I wonder if there isn't, and obviously we've read a few comments this morning, there are definitely some Democrats or at least non-Trump supporters out there. So I would pose a question, is there a little bit of a nostalgia factor, or we knew what we were getting with Biden. Now we don't even know what we're getting, and it doesn't seem to be rolling out that smoothly. The kind of basement campaigning that worked for Biden during COVID doesn't work for Harris, and she's taken even farther with less interviews, zero press conferences as of this point. So just some questions we're posing this morning. When I say why not, but with all this, if you want to say there's negativity on Harris, yeah, fine. If you want to say that, I don't know. Because at the end of the day, and this is an important number to remember, at the end of the day, Harris's team raked in over $1 billion since Biden dropped out. In fewer than 80 days since taking over the top of the ticket, which that's remarkable, right? It's only been 80 days. But Vice President Kamala Harris has reportedly taken in more than $1 billion across her campaign and allied committees. And this is an important number because if you remember, we talked about this either earlier this week or late last week, the campaign strategy for Harris has been remain relatively silent, coming when it comes to media appearances, do a couple here and there like CNN with friendly outlets. The CBS one, I think they probably assumed was going to be friendlier, and CBS did edit for her favor, but still asking some tough questions because they have to a little bit. So, go to friendly outlets like Stephen Colbert, The View, all those places. Do your rallies. Only do events that are in front of a teleprompter, which that's not knocking her. All candidates use a teleprompter. But just do scripted events because when they're non-scripted, they go very poorly. I think that's just a matter of fact. So, and I think Howard Stern said it perfectly when he gave the endorsement to her, because he is a supporter, that I'm going to vote for you, but I would also vote for that wall. That was very telling. That it's not about Kamala Harris. It's about anybody but Trump, the hatred for Trump. That's fine. But back to her campaign strategy. So she gives very few interviews. Everything's teleprompter. And then how do they get their message out about who she is and who Trump is? They spend the money. And we don't get it. We get a little bit here on national news or national TV and some local, I assume. We see a couple of her ads. But talking to friends, I know it's anecdotal, but talking to friends in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, overwhelming It's numerous spots in every single break. That there are no other ads but political ads in some of these swing states. So if she can spend that $1 billion, and that's how she gets her message out, not through media interviews, not through press conferences, but through, look, a campaign ad. And you might say campaign ads don't work. That negativity, everybody hates the negativity. The negative ads work. It's been proven time and time again. So she now has $1 billion to spend. So that is not something to take lightly. If she can hone her message about who she is through those ads, playing like propaganda over and over and over and over and over, there's a lot to be said over that. And this is a new strategy. And if it is to work, it's a strategy that we can expect in the future. Because when something's successful, especially in the world of politics, it is latched onto and beaten to death. The eye-popping figure dwarfs the roughly $853 million Trump has raised across his political operation thus far during 2024. It also far outpaces the fundraising tempo under President Biden. Past presidential cycles have seen candidates, including Trump and Biden, leap past the $1 billion mark between totals raised across the campaigns and outside groups. But the breakneck pace at which Harris, 59, has reached this feat is unprecedented. So you've got to say to this, never has big money played such an important role in a presidential race. So Harris hitting $1 billion. All right, we'll read some of your comments, but first, the moment we've all been waiting for. Coming up, the first group of kids from Corning, or not from Corning, from San Giovanni Valdarno, Italy, which is Corning's sister city. So that's coming up next. We're going to have a quick segment with the first group, take a break, and then a quick segment with the other group, because again, tonight is the pasta dinner fundraiser at the Corning High School Cafe from 4:30 till 7:30 p.m., just $15, and all proceeds benefit the Corning San Giovanni Valdarno Sister City Committee. So our first group of kids coming up after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. It's my favorite time of year because it's all of our good friends from San Giovanni Valdarno. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
Yes. I'd like you, if you don't mind, to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Marco Prina. I'm a teacher here with my students.
Yes. Hi, I'm Gaia Bonchi.
Hi, I'm Carmen Simoniello.
Hi, I'm Cristian Ermini.
Hi, I'm Andrea Nocentini.
Hi. Well, you guys just came from City Hall. How
Yes,
was that?
correct.
How did the mayor do?
Really good.
Did he kept you excited
Yeah.
about
no,
city
he showed us
politics?
people were-
That's where you start in the morning. They're just waking up and you take them over to City Hall.
I think the role game was, we had a role game.
Yeah.
We pretended we were, the city council.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And Christian was the mayor.
Oh,
Yes.
congratulations.
Yes.
He performed great.
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
Yes.
good. You got a challenge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how's the trip so far?
Very
Good.
So far, but we are so tired for this trip
Oh.
because
for the jet
we
lag.
made a lot of things and we see a lot of places. So
Yeah.
and this place is so beautiful. So
Oh, that's very nice. Do you? I can ask each of you. Do you have a favorite part of the trip so far?
What?
Oh, Watkins
Glen.
Glen.
Yeah,
Oh, that's neat. It's beautiful there.
You mean the park or the race cars?
the park.
The park.
Oh, you got to see the race cars too?
Yes, we did.
And you like the park? Okay.
Yeah.
That's very neat.
Me too. I liked the racetrack.
Oh, the racetrack.
I think I really like Corning, all Corning, but I really like the supermarket.
Oh, the
Yeah.
supermarket? What's your favorite part of the supermarket?
I don't know because in supermarket there are a lot of things that we don't have in Italy. So
Oh.
and there are a lot of things that in big size, so are so strange. So
Yeah, that's very true.
For me, the best part was seeing Ithaca and the Cornell University.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Do
I
you
would say glass museum.
Oh.
It's a
Oh,
world-class museum. I expected works of art, but there's you collected pieces of art from all over the world throughout
yeah.
the ages. I think it's really unique
Yes.
in the world.
and it's so beautiful. So what's next on the trip? Do you know?
Next.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Doveva essere
I don't know.
questo.
But it doesn't matter.
On Saturday we will go to the Niagara
Niagara
Falls.
Falls.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. I knew there was something big coming up. What do you think of, well, you've already answered, but what do you think of Corning so far?
Yeah, it's really good, especially for the people. They are also kind with us, and yeah, it's really good to see, like, to feel a good welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody's seen. Yeah.
Yeah, the same.
What do you think of the school?
It's so big.
Yeah.
Because in Italy, our school is not bigger than this school.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of places like the swimming pool and the gym is so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that in America you have like clubs and sports all related to the school, it's so different from Italy, and it's good to see like that you see the same people both in classes
Sure.
and in sports.
Yeah. Have you been making friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And with your host families too, and that's got to be very nice. Do you miss home, or because it's a short trip? It's no. That was a quick no. No. You want to just stay for longer? Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Would you recommend your friends back home come and visit?
I think it will be a different experience without the sisterhood, these sister cities
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it will be great. But living it like in the habits, in
Yeah.
lifestyle, it's so much better.
Yeah. Well, best of luck on the rest of your trip. Are you looking forward to the Pasta Dinner fundraiser, which is tomorrow from 4:30 till 7:30?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good. We'll see you there. Thanks for. Oh, before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to anybody watching? No.
Something
Hi.
to say.
Ciao.
Yeah.
Mamma sono in TV.
Yeah, on TV. Big Fox News. Hey, good.
You got to hire these guys for the tourist board. My goodness. Thank you. Safe travels. Okay. Have fun.
you.
All right. All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem, and we have more kids from the San Giovanni Valdarno. Thanks so much for being with us. I was hoping we could do like the last interview, if we could have you each introduce yourselves. So do you want to start?
So I'm Laura Dolfi.
I'm Ilaria Righi.
I'm Yolanda Besci. I'm Anastasia Caldini.
I'm Agnese Rosi.
And I'm Elisabetta Pasquini. I'm the teacher.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
And this is it's like we practiced that. That was so smooth. So what did you guys think of City Hall and the job the mayor did?
It was
He
fun.
did an excellent
Yeah,
job.
didn't like it as much as the last group. So how has the trip been for you so far? Anybody, feel free to answer.
It was good.
Yeah.
We did a lot of activities,
Yeah.
and they were fun and interesting. And also the school system here is very different to the Italian one. So
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting to see another culture.
Yeah. Would you rather go to school here or back home?
I don't know, maybe here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What if your friends and family see this back home? Your teachers, more importantly, what do your teachers think? What has been, for each of you, what has been your favorite part of the trip so far?
So I think the Glass Museum,
Yeah.
because like we don't have the statues here in San Giovanni like that. Like we have the glass, but not in the form of art.
Yeah.
For me, the football match,
Oh,
because I always seen these on like TV series.
Yeah. that's it. So where did you see that? At the school?
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been neat. Yeah.
I think the volunteer activity,
Okay.
I really found interesting socialize with other people.
Oh, sure. Okay, well, I'll have questions on that in a second.
For me, the last Saturday, because I stayed with family.
Oh, that's nice. And got to get close to the family?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's nice.
For me, the Cornell University.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And for me, it was meeting the people, because the first time it was more about visiting a place. This
Sure.
time it was about visiting the people that I know and that I love.
Yeah, it's because you have familiar faces that you've got to know. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? So we were talking, you had mentioned specifically about making friends. Have you been all making friends with your host family and with students?
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience so far. Do you think you'll stay in contact with some of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? These are always such heartwarming interviews. You make it sound so nice here. How different is it from home here? Shockingly different? No. That's a tough question. That wasn't the best. That wasn't the best question I ever asked. How's that? Have you found yourself missing home? Yeah.
A little.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we are happy to be here and do this experience.
Yeah.
And it's only 10 days, so.
Right. So you can
We
kind
can
of.
survive.
Yes. Exactly. So would you encourage your friends to come visit our area?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've asked all my questions. What do you think? Did I hear an okay? Ready for it to be done? Are you excited to work on the pasta dinner tonight? Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what I forgot? Look what I kept from last time. I got my. Oh, I should have. I'm showing you guys, and not even myself on that one. I got my I Love San Giovanni Valdarno tote. How do I do? San Giovanni Valdarno.
San Giovanni Valdarno.
But it's not too bad. Not too bad. Well, thanks so much for coming to visit. Thanks so much for being on the show. What do you think of the show business? What do you think of TV? It's not that bad.
Are you asking?
Yeah, you're the one that didn't want to do it. What do you think? Not too bad. Was it fun?
Yeah.
Did we do a good job? All right. Stay with
Waiting
it.
for you in San Giovanni now.
Oh, yeah. I'll come and visit.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you to that. All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. How great did the kids do from San Giovanni Valdarno, Italy? I look forward to having them on the program so much. They did a great job. They were all so nervous until the camera comes on. It's so funny. Oh, I can't do this. I can't be on camera. Oh, wait. Yes, I can. And then they do it better than I do it. So, again, don't forget, the Corning San Giovanni Valdarno pasta dinner is tonight. I hope you can make it out. If you do, I'm going to be there for a little bit to say hi. But if you do, make sure you tell the kids what a great job they did on Frankly Speaking. The dinner is tonight at the Corning High School Cafe. Dinner's from 4:30 till 7:30, and the menu includes pasta, meatballs, salad, roll, and dessert, and it's just $15, and you can eat there or take it out, and all proceeds benefit the Corning San Giovanni Valdarno Sister City Committee. And thank you to everybody who set up that interview and had them come in. That was a lot of fun, and I'm going to take her up on it. I want to go see San Giovanni Valdarno, and I want to bring my tote bag so I fit in and don't look like a tourist. All right, we got so many comments from viewers. Let's get right to it. Oh, this is from Ken. Hey, Ken. The CBS dishonesty in doctoring and editing an interview with a presidential candidate is just the latest example of the legacy media controlling the message to the public. It should serve as proof that the legacy media is the reason that the country doesn't get the information needed to select the best person for any position in government. You can't blame the Democrats for lying and cheating their way to the top. It's human nature. If the legacy media was propping up the Republicans and spent most of their time demonizing the Democrats, the Republicans would do the same thing the Democrats do. That's a fair point. I mean, it's a stacked deck, right? I mean, if you know the odds are in your favor, you're going to take that advantage, right? It is human nature. I couldn't agree more, Ken. So to recant something Trump has said, the legacy media are the real enemies of the people. We have the best country in the world. Imagine how much better it would be with an honest media. It is very frustrating because it's one thing, and I personally don't, it's one thing to, for time, cut an interview. It's another thing to deceptively edit it to make the answer look better for a candidate and have the audacity to show the original answer. And then when it starts to get negative attention for the candidate that they support, then edit it. That's how cocky the legacy media is. People say, well, aren't they concerned about money and this? No, it's a level of arrogance from being what they consider at the top for so long. It's one of the reasons why media is struggling so much. It's that arrogance. It's that untouchable feeling that they present. So I couldn't agree more. It's if they were only fair. And when you actually see something fair, like when you see a couple of those questions that were fair, it's almost shocking. It's like I said during the Vance-Walz debate. It was shocking, and I wasn't the only one shocked because you could tell Walz was when he got a follow-up question. Well, no, sir, the question was, can you answer this? And he wasn't ready for that because that is not typical. Number one, he wasn't ready for it because he hasn't been giving interviews and he hasn't been debating moderators like Vance had, but also that isn't typical with the follow-up. And the same goes on 60 Minutes, and Harris didn't handle it well either when the host asked follow-up it, well, it's the real world. How are you going to pay for this? How are you going to do this? And she wasn't ready for it. So great comment. Thank you, Ken. Next comment from a different viewer. I brought this up before and we'll do it again. I want to know where Harris is getting her campaign money. I mean, who in their right mind would give money to someone who is responsible for inflation and so on? This money must be coming from hostile foreign governments. We're going to get back to the discussion on the $1 billion in just a second. Thank you. Another comment from a different viewer. The commentary you have had, let me try again. The commentary you had before, the person that called, yes, that said Trump said he will be a dictator. That is exactly who the Democrats depend on for their voting bloc. If that person had actually listened to what and when Trump had said it, they would know that he said it sarcastically. To inform the viewer, Trump said he would drill, baby drill, and close the border. That is it. Yeah, that is true. That is what he said. Yes, I think there is that idea that the left takes him seriously and doesn't take the sarcasm, and that's why so often when he'll make a joke or whatever, they'll build it up and prop it up as if he said something so outrageous. When like that, in that instance, they know anybody reasonable watching it knows that it was done in sarcasm. But thank you, and we appreciate all comments. Last comment that I have here on the list, Frank, and this is in reference to Harris's team raking in $100 billion since Biden dropped out. Frank, I guess that's what Harris meant when she said the billionaires got to pay their fair share. To her, that's a good point. Yes, that seems to be her answer. It's so cliche, and it's not a big deal because politicians do it so often. They have their talking points, right? You expect it at the congressional level, Senate level, even local levels to an extent. At least statewide office, you don't necessarily expect the knee-jerk cliche talking point to be an answer from a national candidate, from a presidential candidate. Not saying that they're not going to use talking points. I'm not saying that at all. But when he says, how are you going to pay for your initiatives, and then just saying, not giving specifics, saying, first we're going to make billionaires pay their fair share. I don't know. Just there's kind of have you ever been to maybe a rally or a get-together where you can see the different level in politicians, as they move up the chain? That's why I had mentioned that it was shocking. I mentioned it with former Congressman Joe Sempolinski on the show, to see a national candidate like Tim Walz when he was clearly so nervous at the debate. There's just different levels. That's just the nature of it all. And so it's interesting to me when you see kind of a presidential campaign run as if it's a congressional campaign. Not even, because congressional campaigns would be giving more interviews if they had the opportunity, would be doing more press conferences if they had the opportunity. So anyway, Harris did rake in over $1 billion, and that's a number to take seriously, folks. This is going to give her the opportunity to get her quote-unquote message out. Not the specifics, but the message out to convince voters when she's not giving the interviews, when she's not doing the press conferences. Harris managed to get to the 1 billion tally. The New York Times first reported all of those fundraising figures also include money raised by her campaign, allied joint committees, and the Democratic National Committee. Her campaign has yet to publicly release its numbers for September, which has become customary ahead of the Federal Election Commission's deadline for public disclosures from the presidential campaign. So $1 billion raked in, but there is still a nervousness amongst Democrats. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to a place like The Hill, not necessarily a conservative-friendly outlet, saying Democrats start to hit the panic button. 2 months ago, even a month ago, they were feeling bullish about Vice President Harris's prospects of defeating former President Trump. But now, with less than a month to go until Election Day, they're increasingly worried about a number of issues plaguing the Democrat nominee's campaign. And that's why many speculated, and timing was not good because of Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helena, but doing this quote-unquote media blitz with friendly outlets. But again, to the New York Post's argument the other day, who are you actually trying to persuade with these interviews? The people watching Stephen Colbert and The View are most likely supporters of Harris in the first place. So do you think you bring people over to your side by going to these friendly outlets? I think that's a very serious question the campaign has to look at. And will there be more interviews? We know now that Trump has said that there will not be a third debate. Well, second with her, but third debate, even though Fox News offered. Well, on Tuesday, there was grumbling from some Democrats about the vice president's interview on 60 Minutes. Yeah, it wasn't that good. I mean, it's simple as that. And we may talk about that. There's also concerns on everything from the static poll numbers and the race to the vice president's messaging and even her standing with men, not just white men, but black and Hispanic men too, her standing. Some of this perhaps can be chalked up to normal Democratic nerves ahead of what looks like it could be amongst the closest presidential elections in history. Either way, it's nerve-wracking for Democrats. And according to Mark Halperin, and you know him throughout the past as a political analyst, he says the internal private polling that he's seen, that Harris's team has been making, and most seem to think anyway, the internal polling is more accurate because you're not trying to just get like a CBS or an NBC trying to maybe prop up a candidate or help a candidate or make a news story out of it. They're trying to actually get the numbers to see where they have to go, what they have to do. That the private polling shows Kamala Harris is in huge trouble. I don't want to read his whole statement, but that the numbers do not look good for her if you look at her internal polling. But continuing, everything is deadlocked. And the composition of the electorate is unknowable. And there are so many things that were unprecedented, a Democratic strategist, Jamal Simmons, said. We can't look back with any level of security because we haven't had an African-American woman on the ticket. We haven't had a former president running again. We haven't had a campaign with 2 assassination attempts. We haven't switched out a candidate 2 months before Election Day before. And I would also add that in this scenario, you should mention that she didn't go through the primary process, that she wasn't actually selected by the Democrat voters to be their candidate for president. So it's just hard to know, Simmons explained. If you're not nervous, you're not paying attention. Democrat strategist Anthony Coley, who served in the Biden administration, acknowledged a trepidation, pointing to the stagnant poll numbers in the weeks following the DNC, when Democrats were making comparisons between Harris's campaign and Obama's. Yeah, you can't make those comparisons. I mean, you can if you want, but it's just not there. Maybe the excitement at first and getting all that huge money, but Obama ran a much, much better campaign than Harris. Now that the sugar high is gone, people have realized that Kamala Harris has said from the start, which is that she is the underdog. This is going to be a fight. These numbers are just so stubborn. Now, to be sure, there was good news. See, the Hill has to make sure that you know that. For Democrats on multiple fronts in recent days. For starters, Harris benefited from the economic front following news of robust jobs reports last week. Inflation has also slowed. Again, whatever. Just go to the grocery store. A string of new polls also shows Harris with a lead. And there's something you've got to remember about that and why there is so much trepidation is because Donald Trump has historically pulled lower than what he actually gets come election day. Why is that? Because people are concerned because of media, because of the hate for Trump, that if you admit to somebody just randomly calling you on the phone and doing a poll or admit to anybody that you're a Trump supporter, it could cost you family, friends, relationships, jobs. So they don't tell you. There's a mistrust in telling you who they support. But I don't want to go into the polling numbers, but Democrats are the first to acknowledge that they have walked around in a perpetual state of fear since the 2016 presidential race when Trump defeated Clinton in a surprise victory. Since then, they have vowed to keep the former president from returning to the Oval Office, a major reason why Biden was pressured out for Harris in July. We are Democrats. We are professionally nervous, said Democrat strategist Tim Hogan. Imagine not being able to believe in your positions enough, because going back to kind of what Ken said, you have the media in your back pocket. We know you have academia in your back pocket, Hollywood, et cetera, the list goes on, and you still don't feel that you can convince the American people that your policies are any good and that you should win. It's amazing to me. And of course, they interview a few people that, are confident, others saying it's a flip of a coin. I have a pit in my stomach. The donor attributed the feeling to several things, but mostly pointing to one major flaw. Harris's economic message isn't resonating. And the economy is issue number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the donor said. For weeks, Harris has been criticized by Republicans for not doing interviews, an attack that became part of Trump's talking points at rallies and in his sit-downs with conservative media. Hold on. He's not just talking conservative media. If you look at Vance, he's been going everywhere. Also, it's not a talking point. I mean, the fact that the media isn't more upset about this is outrageous. But in the recent days, she has embarked on a media blitz. Again, can you call that a media blitz when she's on a podcast, a friendly podcast, she's on Stephen Colbert, et cetera, et cetera. The rash of interviews is part of a strategy aimed at speaking directly to much-needed voting blocs that are still undecided, including black and Hispanic voters. While Democrats said they were pleased to see Harris on a whirlwind media tour, that's whirlwind for a presidential candidate anyway, they also criticized her messaging on key issues, including the economy and immigration. In the 60 Minutes interview, one Democrat strategist praised her comments on owning and shooting a gun, which they said would appeal to moderates who are tired of Trump. But at the same time, Harris's comments largely fell flat, the strategist said. She is still fine-tuning her message 28 days out. And I'm sorry, we are in the make the sale phase of the campaign now. We're not still tweaking the message. One Democrat consultant worried that while Harris's campaign is doing all the right things on fundraising, on its field operations, and even paid media, it may not be enough. We all know this would be hard. It's going to come down to the wire. No one knows how this will end. It's almost the scariest part. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Overlooking Market Street this morning, a cold morning. Welcome back. We're broadcasting live and wrapping things up here from the Hesselson's studio. Wow, we have so many comments coming in. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. I apologize, but here we go. A large share of that donation, meaning the $1 billion that Harris has received, probably came from Trump lawfare. Thank you. A different comment. If American billionaires are funding Harris's campaign, then this should raise eyebrows, given that she said she wants to raise taxes for the billionaires. Another comment. How many more ways can it be proven that the rich have the ability to pass along higher costs to themselves? Also, they will move their money and companies to a foreign land to avoid having to pay higher taxes. Democrat policies do nothing but hurt American companies and benefit foreign companies. Hence what the NAFTA trade agreements began. Thank you very much. And final comment here from Ken. Unfortunately, I'm suspicious on anything political. How do we know that Harris's campaign raised $1 billion? Then they said they raised a huge amount of money. The sheeple will assume that most voters are pulling for Harris, and as good sheeple, they will follow the flock. Thank you, Ken. Well, that just about does it for today. A couple last quick things. Buckle up. James Carville, the Raging Cajun, was on MSNBC's The Beat. And he said, the only thing I feel is the election is coming November 5th, and I'm scared to death. So host Ari Melber asked, you're not in a reflective mood? Carville said, I'm not in a particularly reflective mood right now. I'm very concerned. So Melber said, well, what does Harris need to do with the next month? The month left, not even. Carville said, she doesn't have a month left. We've got 26 days. Today is gone, and you're going to lose another 4 in a hurricane. Just subtract that. We're going to get blank on that. So you're not going to get much out of the next 4 days. And everything kind of shuts down the Saturday before the election. So you're really probably under 20 days when you have to really get a message out. They need to be sharp. They need to be aggressive. They need to stop answering questions and start asking questions. I think she and the whole campaign needs to be much more aggressive and much less passive than they are. Meaning, I would assume, how about giving some media, some press conference? Joe Concha from Fox said Kamala Harris's pre-election media blitz didn't make her look any better. It was just a massive flop. And you can find that piece for yourself at the New York Post. Many Americans still don't know who Kamala Harris is or what she stands for, which is why she set out on this misbegotten mission in the first place. We know who Donald Trump is, but Harris is the etch-a-sketch candidate who says so very much without telling us anything at all. We are completely out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to our friends from San Giovanni, Valdarno, Italy, for being on the program this morning. I hope that you can make it to their pasta dinner fundraiser for the Corning City Sister Cities Committee. The pasta dinner fundraiser is tonight at the Corning High School cafeteria. Dinner 4:30 till 7:30 p.m., just $15, and all proceeds benefit the Corning San Giovanni Valdarno Sister City Committee. Had a blast talking with the kids and the teachers. Thank you so much. Please join us tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Have a great day, everyone. This show went good, didn't it? I feel good about this show. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Look forward to it already.